Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day. Thankful for all the fathers out there in the universe, we shall say. And again, what a nice day it is this morning. Really, the mornings are awesome. About noon, not so much. So just like every Sunday, we'd like to start the service with a song called This Is the Day. And if you'd please rise and join with us and bring up the spirit, we would appreciate it. And feel free to belt it on out. Let it out.
This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Sing that. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day, a day to be seized, yeah. A day I can feel my spirit set free. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and high up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day all my dreams come true. Can feel the Spirit working its way through. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and high up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it.
Good morning. Welcome to West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Reverend Clyde Goings. I'm the assistant minister here. And when I was thinking about that song, this is the day that the Lord made, I will rejoice in it. I'm like, what other choice do we have? Right? So you might as well make the best of it, whatever it is. It's hot, go get in the pool. Or come hang out at the church, right? In the air conditioner. Yeah. All right. So that's what we're all about, right? Knowing that truth. So we come together every Sunday to remember our truth, that we're whole, perfect, complete, just the way that we are. That individualized expression of God. So a couple of announcements for today. Number one is, before I do the announcements, so our theme this year is changing our world. So what are we doing to change our world, not only personally for ourselves, but also the world as a whole, right? Because each one of us are adding our consciousness to it. And keeping in line with that, well, today is Father's Day. So first we want to say Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. So all the fathers, Happy Father's Day. Thank you for being a wonderful father, or trying to be a wonderful father, or whatever father you are. Thank you for being a father. But what will I say is that fathers do change the world, right? So they're grooming their children, they're raising their kids, whatever way they can, the best way they can. And so they are always changing their world. And I was thinking about this on the way in today, that my dad, even today, still has an influence on me and what the decisions I make. I'm not necessarily, I always agree with his decisions or his direction, but they do influence what I think. So I'll just say that. So happy Father's Day, all the wonderful dads out there. All right, so we have two announcements with, actually they're both for classes. So we have two great classes coming up. One is that if you're interested in becoming a practitioner here at the center, Reverend Karen is going to be doing an introductory class. It's from 1:30 to 3:30. It's on Tuesday. It starts June the 25th, and it's three Tuesdays in a row. And it's basically going to be talking about what is a practitioner, how do you become a practitioner, what are the requirements of being a practitioner here in this community. And so if you're interested, again, that's going to start Tuesday the 25th. And then the other class, Reverend Karen is on fire. She's like, I'm teaching. I'm ready to teach again. The first of the year, we it was a floodgate of classes, like every day it felt like. But so anyway, so the other class that Reverend Karen is teaching is going to start next Sunday. So it's a Sunday, so there's no reason why you can miss it. Right, so it's next Sunday. It starts at 11:30, and it's going to be on affirmative prayer, understanding affirmative prayer. So why do we call it spiritual mind treatment? What are the ingredients of an effective prayer, right? And how do we make prayer affirmative? So this is a 4-week workshop or class. It's going to start next Sunday at 11:30 here, and the tuition for the class is $40. And those are our classes for the summer. All right, so that's it. All of our information is available on the newsletter. It's also available on our website. And so if the website is wvcsl.com. And if you're not receiving our newsletter, in the bookstore area, we have little cards that you can fill out with your information and drop it off in the offering boxes, and then you'll receive our newsletter that we send out every week, so you can keep up to date with all of our wonderful events. So that's all of our announcements. So
Wellness Wednesday or Wellness Expo next Saturday.
oh, thank you, Kay. Yeah, well, next 9 to 5. 10 to 5 next Saturday at the Wellness Expo here at the center. It's going to be different modalities of spiritual wellness. So that is next Saturday. All right, so let's say our vision statement together. We are a loving, joy-filled community honoring the many paths to God as we learn and live the science of mind principles. And so it is. So just sit back, relax, close your eyes if you would like. Keep them open and look at our beautiful peace sign, and just allow the Bradford's beautiful music to center you in this beautiful place that we call our spiritual home. Thank you.
So take a deep breath, relax as we move within.
I will make a quiet place within my heart, and I will wait upon the Lord. Wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a quiet place quiet place within my mind, and I will wait upon the Lord. Wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know I will make a quiet place within my life, and I will wait upon the Lord. Wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place.
A quiet place where God resides in each one of us. God, that is that divine sweet spirit of love and joy and peace and beauty and all that is good. And that God that lives in each one of us, and every blade of grass, every cloud in the sky, every building on this planet, it is all God. And knowing that God is that divine expression of all good, I know that I am too one with God, as each one of us here in this room and beyond are one with the divine sweet spirit. And I claim and affirm this, knowing on this beautiful Sunday morning and this beautiful Father's Day that we are those divine expressions of the one God. That we emanate the beauty and the peace and the love and the joy and all that is good. And on this day, a word of blessing for each one of us here, each one of us watching online, and those that cannot be with us here today. A word of blessing to each one of us and those in service. And to the Bradfords, knowing that their beautiful music just permeates our hearts and souls with that divine harmony that they so eloquently deliver. And to Reverend Karen, knowing that she speaks the words of God that flow through her effortlessly, and then each one of us receives a divine message from her talk. And to all those fathers out there and those that are no longer with us, a blessing for this beautiful Father's Day. And for all faith traditions, knowing that there are many paths to that one God. And I'm so grateful for this day. I'm so grateful for this beautiful Sunday morning. And I release my words into the law, knowing that it is already done, and it is so. And together we say, and so it is. My reading today is from There's a Spiritual Solution to Every Problem by Wayne Dyer. Now I'm going to read in the back of the book here, and he describes the final section in this book. He says, I am ending this book with a powerful message from a quotation based upon the holy book known as the Bhagavad Gita. In this ancient classic tale, the warrior Arjuna is talking to Krishna, or God, and asking, who is the illumined one? I am offering my comments on God's responses and encouraging you to savor the ideas that Arjuna is receiving. Now, the illumined person understands the one power and knows that they are always connected to that spiritual essence. There is never a question of being separate from God. Love of spirit is so strong, it has become knowing. You can turn to that knowing to end the problem that Krishna tells Arjuna are the sense cravings of a tormented heart. The love for the Lord of love is a wonderful description of spiritual energy. Now, Sri Krishna asks, the disunited mind is far from wise. How can it meditate? How be at peace? When you know no peace, how can you know joy? And the response, by reconnecting to God, we move up to a higher, faster spiritual vibration. This is accomplished by going to the indivisible place of silence. In silent meditation, we also come to the place of unity or oneness, that which is indivisible. Here is where peace and joy are experienced. Here is the solution to any and all problems that arise from disunited mind. And let's take a moment to contemplate that thought. And so it is.
Your love is lifting me higher than I've ever been lifted before. Help me out here. Your love is lifting me higher than I've ever been lifted before. So keep it up, quench my desire, and I'll be at your side forevermore. Now once I was downhearted, disappointment was my closest friend. Then you came and it soon departed, and it never showed a face again. Your love is lifting me higher, sing it with me, than I've ever been lifted before. So keep it up, quench my desire, and I'll be at your side forevermore. Let's do that one more time. Your love is lifting me higher than I've ever been lifted before. So keep it up, quench my desire, and I'll be at your side forevermore.
Oh, that was so fun. Well done, Bradfords. Well done. We approve. You're welcome. De nada. Good morning. Welcome to the West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. I'm really happy that you are all here today. Happy Father's Day to all you dads. It is, I had the best dad. I was really lucky. I had such a great dad that it's a tender holiday, even though he hasn't been here in a long while. And I also had a husband who was a good dad, and he hasn't been here in a while either. But we honor the Father Spirit today, and I love that we do that. And I've read this week that it's no accident that Father's Day falls so close to the summer solstice. And that's because the word father, one of the meanings of father is to give rise to. And the fathers in life literally give rise to life in that very same way. In the same way that the sun rises in the morning, every new day, there's a new rise to life. So today we honor that masculine dimension within all of life. And that there's an element of the Father God, the vision of the Father God as the creator of all of life, that the creator, because Spirit in this infinite way has created all of life, everything in the universe. Nothing exists outside of that. We can see that then the Father needs to source and supply us from His creation. So there's this beautiful image of the way dads take care of families. I remember one time Hugh was actually working in the valley in California. What do you call it now? I don't remember. The valley, where all the valley girls came from, and we had that big. That San Fernando earthquake happened, and he worked in, oh my goodness, he was right in the heart of it where he worked. And I remember having a conversation with him after that, like, how would you get home to us if something, if the roads were all crumbled and you couldn't get back home? And he said, oh, don't you worry. I would steal a motorcycle. I know right where the lot is. And I would be able to ride over that. I'd get a dirt bike and I'd ride over all that rubble and I would get to you, honey. And it made me feel good. Even though I would worry, I really wouldn't want him to do that. It sounds really dangerous to me. That idea that he made that commitment, I'll get back, I'll be there, honey, and that was sort of the way I grew up. Dad was there to take care of you. The flip side of that was they never thought you could do anything on your own, but eventually we figured that all out anyhow. I found this old familiar quote that we have all heard more than a time or two, and it comes from Mark Twain. Samuel Clemens, whose pen name was Mark Twain, was a distant cousin of my beloved husband. And he's famous for this quote. Listen to it, even though you've heard it before. In the context of the way he actually wrote it, it's a hoot. He said, when I was a boy of 14, my father was so ignorant I could hardly stand to have the old guy around in the same room. When I got to be 21, 7 years later, I was astonished at how much he had learned in only 7 years. Isn't that a fabulous quote? And we kind of relate to that. All of us have memories of being teenagers where we kind of thought we knew it all and where our parents seemed to embarrass us no matter what they did or didn't do. And I think the lesson in life is that we're always learning. We're always, for perpetuity, humankind will always be advancing in consciousness and learning and growing and gathering more wisdom and sorting things out and doing things wrong and then self-correcting or course-correcting and doing things again in a new way. I also was thinking about that Bible passage where it said, when I was a child, I used to speak as a child. I used to read, think as a child. I used to reason as a child. When I became an adult, I put an end to my childish ways, or some Bibles say, put away my childish ways, or different variations of that. So we know that it's just human nature that we grow and we learn, and then you get to be an adult, and then you start specializing in what you know. Are any of you experts in certain things? I've got some things I consider myself an expert in. I know more about childbirth than most women because of my past, right? Not just because I gave birth, but because that was an occupation for me. And so we become experts in what we know, but the problem is that there's a way of knowing that also invites not knowing. So that Mark Twain quote kind of goes on and on. When we know better, we see other things. The older I get, the more I realize there's so much juicy information out there. There's not enough time left in my life for me to learn it all, and that's because it's never all. There's always more, right? They update dictionaries on a regular basis because we are always adding new ideas, new words. We're making up new words even, and hasn't that happened a lot in the last 5 years or so? Woo, you're afraid. I'm almost afraid to say just about anything now, because everything means something different. So there's the brilliance in wisdom, I think, is knowing that there are things we can know and knowing there are things we cannot know. And God is often referred to as that great intelligence that is unknowable. In other words, this is an invisible power that we can't see, but we can see the effects of the presence and the power of God in our lives. And we can align to that and use all of those things. So I think it's amazing that we work so hard to figure stuff out so that we can know stuff, and then we become so certain that we begin to close down our mind, and we're no longer open at the top, as we like to coin the words of. Gosh, I almost said Hugh Holmes, Dr. Ernest Holmes. They're so alike; it's hard to tell them apart. They're both resting in the same place, I'm pretty sure. So the beauty would be learning to hover between knowing and not knowing, and recognizing when it's important to be firm in your knowing and when it's inviting to sort of open up and question whether you know it, or whether you know all of the things you need to know or not. I think relationships is a great place to, I'll just share that wisdom with you. Relationships is a great place to not think you have it all figured out all the time, because relationships are always... I trust you all heard that at home. He was bragging about how much he knew about marriage. Very cute. Ha ha. So the title of my message today, so beautifully done in the reading as well as the music. Thank you so much, you guys, holding me up in the right direction. The title of my message is Higher Heights. And I want to talk today about the spiritual principle of prayer. And so you'll notice that I conveniently packaged a new class on prayer to begin in a week. And we will meet for 4 Sundays, because I found 4 Sundays where I didn't have meetings after service. And we will meet probably in my office. We'll see how many people actually want to attend. And there is a sign-up sheet out in home space. If you'll just look at the long table under the window, it will give you the details of that class in a way you can see it, because it's not in the newsletter yet, because I just decided, I should do that to go along with this talk. So we're going to do a wonderful examination of affirmative prayer in the way that it has been taught from the teachings of Ernest Holmes, where he studied the methodologies of spirituality for generations back. And he saw that there is a formula that we can use, and it starts with this idea of the first thing you got to do is just open yourself up to recognize the presence and the power of God right where you're at, and then you unify with that presence. You recognize that something about that power is in me, and then you speak words of realization that where you are convincing yourself that you're not begging God for your problems to be fixed. There's a whole other consciousness, a perspective around prayer that is very unique to New Thought, and I'm really honored to be able to offer the class. So that'll be starting next Sunday, and it's 11:30 is vague because I want you to have time, especially on the second. Is that when we do Dining with the Dudes, the second Sunday? Yeah, I want you to eat and have fun, and then we'll gather. Then we'll meet together and get our work done, and it'll be fun. So higher heights is a term that is not about a up and down perspective. It's not higher heights, meaning you're smarter or less smart than. It's not a type of measurement other than the fact that when we talk about spiritual heights, we're talking about comprehending those divine truths. So that really tickled me that you were reading Wayne Dyer, Kay, because Wayne Dyer, do you know when Wayne Dyer made his transition, our book circle here at church had just selected his book, I Can See Clearly Now, and it was sitting on the counter the day he died. I walked in this church and I went, oh, is this wrong? But isn't that a beautiful message? He passed, and the book title that was so popular was I Can See Clearly Now. What a profound message for all of us to understand the eternality of life itself, and what a great way for him to go out. So we're not talking about measurement other than qualitative comprehension of these spiritual truths that we talk about every Sunday. And so it is about having a higher perspective. In that when we say a higher perspective, we're talking about this symbolic way that if you climb a mountain and look out on a valley, you can see way more than you see at ground level. Here in the West Valley, if I drive to the White Tanks, and many of you are familiar with the White Tanks, we all love that waterfall trail, don't we? Because it's kind of well paved, and it's got the petroglyphs. Petroglyphs. Oh, that just blows my mind. They are so fun. So we have that idea of knowing where you're out in the White Tanks, and what's really fun is to be there as the sun is setting. And when the sun is going down and it's getting a little dark outside, you really are aware that the White Tanks are in a higher elevation because you can see the whole valley. You can look back and you can see the lights of the city starting to twinkle, and it's a really great idea. So we are talking about a perspective, a rising in consciousness, so that we can see a bigger, broader view of whatever's going on in our life. Now, the quote I found where I got the title for the talk, Higher Heights, comes from Ernest Holmes' publication called This Thing Called You, that little book that it's everybody's favorite. And here are his words. He says, through divine intuition, consciously enter the upper field of your mind where peace and joy exist forever. You read that from Wayne Dyer, and I'm just going to say that would not be the first time Wayne Dyer took something right out of the mouth of Ernest Holmes. So there's this beautiful alignment. Spiritual truth, people, is spiritual truth no matter who said it or how it was said. But don't you like that? I personally really love that idea that there's an upper field. He says, move into that space of consciousness where you are entering the upper field of your own mind. And then Wayne Dyer described it just the way Holmes did. Holmes said, that is the place where peace and joy are always available, always right there at the center of our being. So we love that idea. It really helps us to understand that because we are divinely created in the image of the Creator, there's something about us that has a place of peace that passes our understanding. We don't have to understand it from human terms because really we can't. But it is untouched by any of the things going on in the world or any of the shenanigans currently unfolding in your own personal life, because that's how life is. There are situations that we all get to encounter and move through. The secret is to just keep moving. Consciously enter that upper field of your mind because that's where peace and joy are always right there. Now, in the context of where this quotation came from in that book, Dr. Holmes is talking about how we can look at what's going on in our life. How can we face our challenges? How can we then use spiritual tools to deal with the problems in our life? And you know what I want to say? This is why I believe it's everybody's favorite book, because he's so straightforward in telling you how to use spiritual principle to deal with your own problems, no matter what they are. So he says in that same area that the goal would be that we recognize there's a place we get ourselves in a pickle when we keep trying to solve the problems all on our own. Now, I know a lot of you dads are really good problem solvers. and love to fix things in the same way my husband said to me, I'll steal a motorcycle. I'll get back to you, babe. Right? So there's a way that's a part of some people's experience. But I also know a lot of women who are really good problem solvers as well. And the trick is always for us to look for the holiness of life so that we're not so tempted to think we need to fix what looks broken. What I have really come to learn in my own life is that when I'm not feeling 100%, when I'm not spiritually grounded, life looks a heck of a lot more broken to me, right? Because it's a different perspective through which I'm viewing life. So then Holmes says something really brazen. He said, God has no problems. Now there's a part of me that goes, well, yeah, that makes sense. I don't have any problem with that. But I'm not sure that I pray like I know that. I think there are times, and I'm not even saying it's wrong, I'm certainly going to not give it up, but there are times where I'm going through something difficult in my life and my prayer doesn't sound like I have as much conviction as I might have on other days when I'm praying. So on those days where I'm feeling needy, I really like the idea. Remember that poem, Footprints in the Sand? Is it something like that? We like that. We like that idea that God's just carrying us through all our troubles. But then when I take that thought and I really ponder, what does it mean to say God has no problems? And I realize there's an element of that statement that says that God has no problems, therefore God does not look at my life and see it full of problems. See, something about my life is perfect, whole, and complete, and the same is true for you. And all of the things we experience in the outer realm of effect, like illness and trouble in our partnerships and et cetera, those are things that are out of alignment. And this school, this earth planet school that we are living upon and devoted to, these are the opportunities for us to now rearrange things, ideas, beliefs, and come to a higher perspective to see the truth instead of just what's broken. So it's a lot to think about. So Holmes said this in that same place in the book. God has no problems. The principle of divine guidance works by responding to our acceptance. It works according to how much we can accept it. And man, it's proportional. It is directly related, people. It is like the more I open myself to receive the answer to those prayer requests, the quicker I get divine activity flowing through my life and in my awareness. It's always flowing. It's just that we're not always aware of it, and sometimes consequently we block it. And we miss out on some things. So prayer, in part, is about affirming the presence and the power of God and knowing, again, it's right where we are and accepting that truth in our life so we can then live at a higher level of personal well-being. It reminds me of that joke that somebody just told this joke in a circle I was leading last week or the week before. It's that one where there's a guy in a busy shopping center parking lot and he's looking for a parking space, right? And so he prays and he says, Lord, if you will just get me a parking place nice and close to the front of the store, I will pray every day and I'll start to go to church again on Sundays. And suddenly, the car in front of him starts to back out, and voila, this parking space right there. And he goes, oh, never mind, I got this one. And it's funny. It's doggone funny. I wanted to say damn funny, but, the child in the room might be getting old enough. I shouldn't curse from the... it's funny, but it's real. We do that all the time. we pray, something miraculous unfolds before our eyes, and then we start reasoning why, oh, that happened because this and that and the other lined up. Can we just like give God a little nudge? Don't we joke about what a good sense of humor Spirit must have? So we tell these funny little stories and we laugh. And I would just invite you to take it home and notice the next time you're in a situation where a miracle has unfolded before your eyes and you start looking for the logic in it, why it couldn't have been a miracle, why it had to be just something normal. Well, by the way, miracles are quite normal. So what we know is that the use of gratitude is an important part of praying. And the reason for that is now we're getting all the scientific backing and we understand that being thankful does something in that, the way that you read it, Kay, in the inner vibrational, it rises, it brings up your vibrational, you got a little more divinity moving around in your experience. And so what we know is that there's something that's almost, we could say, is magical about the power of gratitude. Ministers say that gratitude is the anointing of increase. Because we understand when you start, let's say you've got a lot of bad stuff going on in your life and you don't even know where to start. Start with being thankful for something that you can be thankful for, because it will change you. Now, they have done studies. You can look it up. It's well documented at this point. It actually has been for a good 20 years or so, but more and more and more we're getting beautiful validation of how true this is. And gratitude, thankfulness, is one of the 5 steps to spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer in the way that we teach it here. So it's not new to us. 800 years ago, Meister Eckhart, the Christian mystic, and many people know this quote, 800 years ago, he wrote, "If the only prayer you ever said was thank you, it would be enough." I love starting my prayers in that state of gratitude, just feeling it, because it is that feeling that shifts that vibration where we tap into that inner peace, that inner joy, that inner love, that perfect order where all things are perpetually in order and waiting for us to notice. William James, I love to quote William James, such a brilliant human. He defined prayer in this way. He said, prayer is an emotional effusion. Prayer is an outburst of the mind that wishes to communicate with the invisible. Oh, I love that. Prayer is an outburst of the mind. It's that something within us that wishes to communicate with that something that is greater than we are. So come to the altar of prayer full of thanks. Give thanks to God, because when we give thanks to God, it opens us. When we just go to God asking for things that we think we don't have or we don't have access to, then we are coming from a point of feeling limited. And if you come in gratitude and you're wide open, then you'll be tend to be more receptive. Enter into the upper fields of your own mind and touch that place of peace and joy. Those are the higher heights. I did some research on that idea of higher heights, and I found a fabulous story in the news. This just happened last month. That woman right there is Captain Teresa Claiborne. And she's in the news now because something really fun has happened in her life. She was the first black female pilot in the United States Air Force. She was the first African American female pilot in the United States Air Force. And she served for 9 years, put a lot of miles under her. Oh, can you say that? Is that a mixed metaphor? She worked for 9 years there, and then she did what many Air Force pilots do, and she went into flying commercial jets. And she worked for United Airlines for 34 years. That is a total of 43 years in the air. And she retired in May. She didn't want to retire, but they have an age limit. And so she had to retire, and so she must have been, she looks awfully good for a woman in her 60s. I love that picture. Thanks for choosing that one, Kendra. That's a really good depiction of her. And they did the coolest thing when she flew her last flight. And I don't know how, maybe this is regular or maybe it's just done for military vets. She took all her friends and family somewhere. So in the whole plane, she's flying her friends and her family on her last flight she ever flew. And when they landed and they taxi in toward the gates, 2 fire engines were waiting. And I see the vets know exactly where this is going. And you're Air Force, right, John? And the fire engines get on either side of the plane and they shoot their water cannons to create a huge arc over the plane. And they call it a water gun salute. And it is a sign of great respect to have had that honor to do that. She's a remarkable woman. It's a great story. In 2016, she founded an organization called Sisters of the Skies, where she works with young women and spreading her message that you can be anything. You can make whatever you desire out of your life. And she brings hope to especially these young African American women who would have no other model if they didn't have these firsts that are fun for us to tell these stories. Higher heights, a higher source of good that we tap into through prayer. This is a real relevant, useful message that we want you to really think about how you pray. See, when I take my problems in prayer to a higher source, when I move into prayer from a higher height, now things are shifting and they are different in all the ways we've just described. But I was thinking that, I like to read. Well, I like to read. But I like to read before I go to sleep at night. I always have a stack of books on my bed table. But I also have a really good reading light because it's hard to read in bed with just my overhead light. So I think it's a really good metaphor for the way we want to go to higher heights where we're moving into that divine illumination, the way that the wisdom of God, the unlimited, infinite intelligence of life itself then shines upon us and we can see more clearly what it is we're trying to move through. So, and by the way, speaking of reading in bed at night, I've been watching the news and they're also recommending that we don't read from our phones in bed at night and that we probably shouldn't even be taking our phones into the bedroom because sometimes I like to scroll on, I just like to look at the reels on Facebook to pass some time, But when you are scrolling on your phone, you are tapping into information and then now we know there's some health, the Harvard health studies. The Harvard health studies are showing that what they call the blue light, the reflection that comes from the light of your phone, actually interferes with your, it can harm your sleep cycle because it suppresses the production of melatonin in our bodies. And a whole bunch of us take melatonin to try and sleep better, but then we play with our phones and it's kind of counterproductive. But the excess of information stimulates your brain too much. So don't look at your phone. If you're getting ready to go to bed, put your phone somewhere else. And they're also saying, and I love this, I've been telling you this for years, don't look at your phone for the first 20 minutes before you wake up. Now, I didn't tell you 20 minutes, but I heard that on the news too, that you need time to wake up before you have contact with anything going on in the world, or worse yet, in your family. So kind of guard that sleep time. Think of it like little end caps around your sleep period, and that will really help all of us be healthier. So we're really talking about that kind of divine light. We're talking about that way to notice that in the divine light, when I am divinely illumined, everything appears a little more lovely than it used to be. In fact, I would venture a statement I would like to say that I believe we don't recognize beauty unless we have been touched by God. Standing and looking at life, reflecting through that divine illumination, because beauty is an experience that we feel inside of us. You can't just make it happen. So, Holmes said, we should think of our lives as an increasing awareness, an ever-growing and expanding consciousness, an ongoing progress of individual and collective evolution. And I really like that statement. We are always growing. We are always accumulating more information. We are always moving a little more sweetly into that richness of spiritual understanding, as long as we stay on an intention, as we honor our own intention to feed our souls in the way the soul longs to be fed. There was a line in that song that said something about the urge to. It's a great line in the song that I have never noticed before. Yeah, it was before that, but it was it's like follow the urge. Feel the urgency in your being so that you know your desires are not more things, right? Your desires are more peace and more joy and more love. Those are the genuine desires. Something in the universe responds to us at the level of our own awareness, and that's the point I'm speaking to today. There is a spiritual law in this universe that responds to our acceptance. That's how Holmes said it in that opening quote. Some prayers are answered instantaneously. We've had those experiences. But it is also true that the more complex situations in our lives invite the sort of the ongoingness of prayer, the continued conversation between you and the divine, because we grow bit by bit. We, over time, increase our ability to see that life is so lovely from that higher perspective. And probably it's also true that most of the progress we make in our spiritual growth comes one piece at a time, one step at a time. Right foot, left foot, keep on, keeping on. Ralph Waldo Emerson said these beautiful words: "A new degree of thought could revolutionize everything." And so that's our invitation. What will that new degree, that higher perspective of life be for you? What will be the gem you take home today from the time you've spent here? And that's what I wanted to say. All that talk about prayer, I believe it's time to do a little. So take a moment to find your center. We allow ourselves to gently shift from the intellectual listening into the heartfelt feelings of prayer. So we begin at the beginning, and we simply know that right where we are, God is. Whether you are sitting in this sanctuary or you're listening from afar, whether you are in time with us or listening at a time that works for you, right where you are, God is. So feel that power and that presence. Recognize the activity of life within you that is the love of God. And together we can simply know that we can feel that love of God within us. We can feel that movement of life. We are aware that as we shift our attention to spiritual ideas, that we are lifted, that we rise to higher heights, and that the view is very different. And so standing at this high point, we can look out and we can see the stories of our lives unfolding. We can recognize the ways in which we are interconnected to each other. We can identify the relationships in our lives that most feed and fuel us. And we can also recognize the relationships that are calling for more love, for more attention, for one-on-one time. And we see that there is this gorgeous divine order that is being revealed in our own lives, in our own beingness. And so, in this moment, from this risen perspective, we know that there's a healing that is taking place. That we are healed as we recognize that illness is a call for us to notice that something's out of order in the physical body. And to appreciate that when there are problems in our relationships, that something is out of order, that there is a call for greater love. So in every way, we rise for the call. We stand aligned and open to receive this love from this power that is greater than we are. For we know that there is a power for good in this universe, and we can use it because we are divinely created. There is an intelligence in our physical body that knows how to heal what ails us. And so we accept that. We open ourselves. We recognize this divine truth about life, that there is something that we cannot understand that breathes our lungs, something that pumps our blood. There is a way that we are connected intimately to nature, for we need the oxygen that the plants give, and the plants need the carbon dioxide that we supply, and that given that together, there is one beautiful whole. There is a way that life functions, and it functions beautifully and perfectly. And so I am grateful for this time of recognition, for these words that we acknowledge, for the ways in which we see and recognize and know that the divine is performing miracles in our own lives, and all we have to do is notice and give thanks. So I am grateful for all the ways I see the presence of God in this spiritual community, in the way that we manage the business affairs, in the way that we schedule our educational activities, and the way that we have fun together. And so for all of this, as a representation of how life can be, I say thank you, God. Thank you, life. Thank you, infinite Spirit, for these and all the gifts that are yet to come. We give thanks. And I release these words into that divine law, that spiritual principle that always responds affirmatively, saying, yes, my child, yes. And together we say, and so it is. Amen. Amen.
Grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. Everywhere I look and every face I see, His love reflected shining back to me. I just give thanks for all these simple things, the joy and peace that gratitude brings. That's why I'm grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have.
All right. Thank you, Bradford. So now's the time to celebrate the abundance of our lives, the abundance of our communities. So I want to remind everybody that we don't pass around the offering plate, that we have drop boxes on the way to Papke Hall for fellowship in the back of the room and also in the bookstore. So we appreciate all your gifts and all your donations, all your tithes. It supports this community and keeps us going. All right, so let's say our giving affirmation together. I live in a goodness of good. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, and so it is.
Please rise for our last song.
Thank you, God.
Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. I ain't thinking about my problems. I'm living now. I'm living now. And I ain't gonna worry about the future. I'm living now. I'm living now. So put your hands up if you feel like having a good time. Put your hands up if you're sharing love with all. Raise your cup if you're hopeful for tomorrow. Put your hands up if you're ready to have some fun. And sing it with us. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. One more time. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Woo!
I always try to sing that high note with Kathy, but I do it quietly.
Thank you.
Yeah, so,
One day your mic was on and we could hear you.
all right, so let's say our closing affirmation together. Repeat it after me. I operate my life from a higher heights. And expect peace, love, and harmony. And so it is.